And now, an 8th special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. Meet a sculptor who knows what it takes to keep art alive, literally.
People ask me how I got into this, and I say that Willow chose me.
A composer reconciles seemingly incompatible musical genres.
What really is appealing to me is to try to make that music congeal into an organic whole.
Shakespeare arrives in Nevada and joins the Vegas lineup.
We have one thing that most of those shows don't have, a really good script.
And we learn what really happened in the White House, half a century later.
It's upsetting, I think, to realize just how close the world came.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. We begin by sitting down with Bonnie Gale, an artist gaining recognition in New York and beyond for her signature living structures. In our first segment, Gale shares both her work and her technique.
I'm a willow artist. I contain and define space. And as an artist, I use willow, dead willow in the form of baskets, or whether it's live willow in the form of structures. And I started all of this in the 1980s. I started it with a small import business called English Basketry Willows. Since 2004, I've built over 40 living structures, and they are for all sorts of clients, from government agencies to corporations to schools to private clients. And I absolutely adore the work. It's highly creative. There are many methods that I've used to do the living structures. Some involves the fedge method, the living fence, but this living tree one behind me is what I call a poling structure, has a metal substructure to it. These living structures have a great potential to involve the community. For example, several years ago, I built this nearly 50-foot long tunnel in Baltimore on Pier 5, opposite the National Aquarium and Pierce's Park. And that involved the whole community. Every day, community people were coming and helping me. So these structures, whether they're geared for the public to be involved, just the public walking by, it's a wonderful form of community art. I love all the pieces I've made. The pieces I do nowadays tend to have greater complexity to them, and that's also based on my skills as an artist as I develop. I'm now getting larger requests for outdoor living rooms that definitely need a substructure within them, but the substructure does allow me to really do any shape I want. There are tremendous challenges working with the live plant material. It would be much easier if I was working in metal or rock or some inert material. It's wonderful though, but yes, I'm working with the live material. I'm building space with the live material, and I've got to keep that live material around. I've got to keep it alive. I've been featured in House and Garden, Vogue Living, Vogue, Early American Life, Fiber Arts magazines. I have been on the Martha Stewart Show, that was April 2010. The PBS series Cultivating Life. It will actually self-root, it will self-graft. I mean, it's absolutely amazing plant material. People ask me how I got into this, and I say that Willow chose me.
For more information, visit EnglishBasketryWillows.com. Up next, we catch up with Los Angeles pianist Billy Childs, who merges classical music with smooth jazz. Raised in a household decidedly split between pop and Baroque music, Childs was practically fated at birth to bring these two genres together.
My dad was into the MJQ and the popular music of the day, Barbra Streisand, Nat King Cole. My mom was into like the Baroque music, like Bach, Haydn, Handel, Scarlatti. What really is appealing to me is to try to make that music congeal into an organic whole. Having been born and raised and living in Los Angeles, I kind of live under the tyranny of good weather. So when I went in 2007 to upstate New York during autumn, I was struck by how beautiful the autumn in New York was. The different colored leaves on the trees, the orange, the amber, the gold, the red, spellbound me. And I wrote this song, The Path Among the Trees, which was inspired by that scenario. I saw this little path as we were driving on I-95 that went into this forest of beautiful, this riotous profusion of colors. And I said, what would a journey be like down that path? To me, there's like a lot of different ways you can compose. You can compose as an impressionist, observing the outside world and writing your impressions of it, or you can be an expressionist, writing from the innermost, darkest places of your soul. You could write programmatic music, which tells a story, or just music like as math, you know. Music for Two Quartets was commissioned for the Monterey Jazz Festival, and it's written for string quartet and jazz quartet, piano, bass, drums, and sax, and string quartet. This was a very large, ambitious piece. I wanted to write something that really was written for string quartet and jazz quartet.
For more, visit billychilds.com. In this next segment, Vegas welcomes Shakespeare to the Strip, where his centuries-old play, The Tempest, continues to work its magic. We sit down with directors Teller and Aaron Posner, who discuss what first captivated them about The Tempest and why their rendition is absolutely spellbinding.
I fell in love with The Tempest when I was probably 11 or 12 years old, because I had been doing magic since I was 5, and there are 2 Shakespeare plays that are heavily filled with magic, Macbeth and The Tempest.
I'm evangelical a little bit about making Shakespeare accessible for everyone, but Shakespeare isn't designed to be read, it's designed to be watched, and it's designed to be watched in productions that are passionate and full of energy and by outstanding actors, which is what we have on this production. I'm Aaron Posner. I'm the co-director and co-conceiver of this production of The Tempest.
I'm Teller. I'm co-directing this production and also kind of leading the magic team on it. The Tempest is a story about a magician who has been wronged many years ago.
It's a story of a father of a young daughter who's marooned on a desert island, usurped by his younger brother. He's the former Duke of Millen.
This particular magician decides to take revenge by using his magic powers, and his magic powers are not Harry Potter powers, where you're actually doing things. His magic powers are the powers to make a show. So he uses the creation of phantasms and illusions as a psychological assault on those people who hurt him many years ago.
With the aid of his sort of supernatural confederates, he attempts to take revenge and chooses rather to forgive, and that's the rough story. Teller and I co-conceive and co-direct everything. It is very much the combination of our sensibilities coming together to tell this story in a unique way.
Well, Aaron and I have been working on this version of The Tempest for about 5 years. Aaron comes at this show from the point of view of a father, because this is a story in one sense about a father and a daughter, and I come from this show from the point of view of a magician. I think it's about magic, he thinks it's about the relationship between a father and a daughter, and in fact it's both.
Obviously, Prospero, the central character in The Tempest, is a magician, so there should be magic in the show, but usually this is done by sort of stage effects or a colored light, or somebody says somebody feels something. We've tried to put magic at the very center of it, real magic, astonishing magic that puts the characters in the same place as the audience is, amazed and knocked off their feet. So The Tempest is a famously difficult play because it's a really demanding story. Sometimes less is more. In this one, I think more is more, and that it wants the magic and the music and the movement and the energy. Shakespeare wove a lot of music into the play. We've expanded on that with the Tom Waits repertoire so that we were making it even more musical, really weaving the magic and the music together to make that part of the power of the island.
The Rough Magic Orchestra is our 4-person band that represents the musical spirit of the island. And our band lives above the stage in a little sort of niche that looks like maybe a crazy Tom Waits and Kathleen Brennan style bar. You know, Prospero in this play says, "And when I have required some heavenly music to work mine ends upon their senses that this airy charm is for." He uses music as, again, another form of psychological assault, and that's what our band does. I've known Tom Waits and Kathleen Brennan for probably 20 years. And I was with Tom and Kathleen, and I showed them a book of Willard the Wizard. And Willard the Wizard toured the Dust Bowl during the Depression. And I showed them some pictures of the band that Willard the Wizard used to have. And Tom looked at it and said, "Those are my people." And Kathleen is a huge Shakespeare fan, so as we began to fall into discussions on this, it's so apparent to me now the kind of world that you feel when you are listening to the Tom Waits and Kathleen Brennan songs is a magical, Halloweenish, American, very heartfelt world that precisely aligns with the sensibility that we have about The Tempest. I think Shakespeare would have used magic. Magic seems to me the most fundamental of art forms. Because when I go to the theater, or I go to a museum, or I go to a symphony, the first thing I want is to be amazed. And all great art does that. You sit there and you go, and that is the essence of art.
This is Shakespeare at the end of his career, writing with as much complexity, as much love, as much knowledge, as much sense of theatricality as he ever had. So it's got almost everything in it. It's got music, it's got magic, it's got the supernatural.
Lots of people think that the magic that is alluded to in the play is very much like the feelings a playwright would have for all the magic of the theater. And it's perfectly possible that that's in some way a farewell by Shakespeare. You know, the thing that breaks my heart about this story is that at the end, Prospero has, like, I would say like me, a passion probably akin to the intensity that a heroin addict feels for his drug, for magic. And at the end of this play, Prospero realizes that the only way to do the right thing by the daughter that he loves so much is to relinquish his hold on that magic, go back to the real world, give up magic, and take care of business. This breaks my heart, and I think it also broke Shakespeare's heart. He has Prospero say that he's going to go back to Milan where every third thought will be my grave. So there's an undertone of profound melancholy to this happy ending. Thanks to the Smith Center, Vegas has a real commercial and artistic heart now. We are originating here, something that will then move from here to Cambridge and who knows where beyond. I'm very proud of that.
We think we're doing something unique here, and we hope a lot of people will want to see it. We hope it will go far and wide.
We have great musical performances, fantastic gymnastic performances, and as good magic as you'll see anywhere on the Strip. Except we have one thing that most of those shows don't have: a really good script by a really good writer named Bill Shakespeare.
I think the theater can expand us. I think the theater can make us feel and think more, can get your blood racing in your veins a little bit. When you leave the theater, colors should be a little brighter. The world should be a little richer, and you should be thinking about the world in some ways that you didn't when you walked in. But people don't want to come to the theater to be bored. They don't want to come and go to a museum. They want to see something that makes them more alive, more engaged, more excited. And that's everything that we're trying to do here.
In our final segment, we check out To the Brink, an ongoing exhibition at the JFK Library in Boston, Massachusetts. With never-before-heard White House recordings and President John F. Kennedy's personal notes, the exhibit sheds new light on U.S.-Soviet relations during his administration.
Over the course of 13 days in October 1962, the world came perilously close to nuclear war as the U.S. discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba. All American eyes turned to President John F. Kennedy, who had a message for Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev.
I call upon him further to abandon this course of world domination and to join in an historic effort to end the perilous arms race and to transform the history of man.
To the Brink, JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis, a new exhibition at the JFK Library and Museum, takes visitors well beyond the president's carefully delivered message for a fly-on-the-wall perspective of how the White House handled the crisis moment to moment. The searing insight comes from secret recordings the president had made inside the cabinet room.
So what you got a pretty bad fix, President. You're a pretty bad fix.
What's sort of the feeling that you get from this exhibition?
Well, it's upsetting, I think. I think to realize just how close the world came to a nuclear catastrophe. You can hear the fear and anxiety in their voices, and you can see that there was no certainty about the outcome.
The show pulls the president and his cabinet out of myth. Rather than iconic figures, they are real men, grasping to make critical decisions on the fly. It is measured chaos, says curator Stacy Bredhoff.
You'll hear the president receiving all kinds of different advice. It's conflicting, and everybody has very strong opinions about what is the right thing to do. It's almost unimaginable to filter through all of the advice that you're getting, remain calm, and somehow arrive at a decision.
We want to give that kid a chance to get around. We want to have we're going to have much up there around
The tape surfaced in 1973, and they reveal the emotional impact Kennedy's prolonged showdown with Khrushchev had, including the fact that the Kennedy administration was very prepared for an attack.
There was the synopsis of a speech prepared announcing to the American public that reluctantly he had ordered an attack on these sites in Cuba.
How chilling is that just for you to look at?
Well, it's terrifying because all of a sudden these things are not theoretical. I mean, it was a real possibility.
There is a trove of original artifacts in the show, including insight into how the president coped with the stress.
He had a habit of taking notes and doodling, and so we have several examples of that, and you see sometimes words being repeated and repeated, or certain, just designs that he made.
We find early CIA personality studies of both Khrushchev and Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Neither are kind. And the show displays the two chairs used by Kennedy and Khrushchev in their only face-to-face meeting.
After the meeting, President Kennedy, aware of the significance of what had happened at the meeting, decided he wanted to have them for his library, and so he bought them, paid $500 and something.
The chairs were used in 1961, well before the Cuban Missile Crisis unfolded. And bookending the show in the opposite direction is the actual nuclear test ban treaty agreed upon by the U.S. and Russia less than a year after the nation's epic showdown.
To actually be in the physical presence of these original notes and treaties and objects that actually, President Kennedy handled, there's just a certain magic in that, and it brings the reality of the history that much closer.
For more information, visit jfklibrary.org. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you.